Rachel King was a loving 35-year-old mother to an 11-year-old son and an extraordinary teacher who spent the last 10 years working with students and their families at the schools in Montgomery County. Her school community is devastated and still grieving her loss. King was shot dead in a Dunkin' Donuts drive-thru back on April 11th of 2023. King was the longtime girlfriend of William Hayes. Hayes had an affair last year with 34-year-old Julie Jean, but when the affair ended, Jean began to stalk and harass the couple, King and Hayes. Not willing to move on with her life, Jean then conspired with 33-year-old Zaki Stephen Alakim to murder King. On the day of the murder, Alakim followed King, who was traveling with her son, to the Dunkin' Donuts drive-thru. Unaware that she was being followed, King never had a chance to escape the hail of bullets, as Alakim walked to the driver's side of King's car and shot her multiple times. King's 11-year-old son was in the backseat of the car and witnessed his mother being murdered.
Mother cut short after she was shot and killed Tuesday in a Cheltenham Dunkin' drive-thru with her son in the car.
35-year-old Rachel King was a beloved mother to an 11-year-old son, Jalen, and she was also a very popular teacher, cherished by her students at Grover Cleveland Elementary School. And she was even featured here on Fox 29 on The Classroom, where she gave out a shout-out to her son.
A huge shout-out right now, and you know who that's to? My man Jalen. What up, second grader, the coolest one in the books.
Yes!
Hey, study, dude. She's awesome. Make sure you study.
I told you, Mom,
Do your homework.
So the district attorney says that Rachel King was the victim of a months-long murder-for-hire plot and did not know either of her alleged killers.
Today is when justice begins for Rachel.
Montgomery County District Attorney Kevin Steele says that justice for Rachel King begins with the arrest of 33-year-old Zaki Stephen Alakim and 34-year-old Julie Jean. He alleges the duo planned King's murder for months, with Alakim ultimately carrying it out in this Dunkin' Donuts parking lot on April 7th as King went through the drive-thru with her son in the back seat.
The shooter didn't even know Rachel, and the mastermind of the plot didn't know her either. Yet she was filled with enough hatred to work to have Rachel killed.
Prosecutors allege that hatred came after King's longtime boyfriend William Hayes ended an affair with Jean to work on his relationship with King, who was a single mother and beloved Philadelphia elementary school teacher.
Jean harassed both Hayes and the victim, watching them, texting them, calling so much that Hayes actually sought court relief, filing and receiving a protection from abuse order on Julie Jean last December.
Steele says the pair purchased a Mercury Sable under Jean's name on March 30th, days before it was seen on surveillance video following King into the Dunkin' Donuts. Investigators also discovered several pieces of evidence on their cell phones, including a photo of King, a map of her apartment complex, a pin drop on her home, and this.
13 minutes before meeting with our detectives, Jean deleted 787 text messages.
Steele says hours after his office released surveillance photos of the Sable on the day King was killed, Philadelphia police tracked it down, but Al Hakim, who was the driver, took off and ultimately crashed. As it turns out, investigators say the car was used in another killing in North Philly on April 7th, 3 days before King was murdered.
I'm Carol King, Rachel's mommy.
Today, her parents thanked investigators for their tireless efforts and the support they've received from the community.
She may not have been famous, but she was, as her father said, and we agree she was great, so her memory will never be lost.
Investigators say cartridge casings found at both the Philadelphia and Cheltenham crime scenes matched, and they believe they came from a ghost gun. Live in Norristown, I'm Brian Sheehan, NBC 10 News.
Her brother, Alan King. Thank you.
Good morning.
for joining
Condolences.
us. Yeah, I can't imagine what this has been like for you.
Yeah, it's not been easy. Just taking care of my nephew right now, though. It's just been a lot in the last 2 days.
Yeah.
How is Jalen doing?
As we expected, I don't think it's really hit him yet. He just keeps saying his stomach hurts, and I can't tell him it's not food, and it's not, he's sick. It just doesn't stop. But he's eating, so that's a good thing. It's like a measurement of, I guess, processing. But yeah, he's carrying a picture around of my sister. He won't let it go. He's everywhere he goes, it's in his hand. I'm just afraid it's going to get wrinkled or rip or something, and he won't have it.
And do you think he even understands what happened? Or, I mean, he was there. It's just, do you think he even knows, as, like you said, is processing?
Yeah, I don't. My sister, unfortunately, was in 2 accidents. She totaled her car, and he was in the car for one and saw the other one, and cars are just not going to be his favorite thing for a while, I think, which is really unfortunate.
Before we get further in the details, your sister, she was your best friend.
Yeah, I mean, we were 2.5 years apart by the day. Like, September 25th, March 25th, we went to school together, took the school bus together, walked to school together, got in trouble if we left each other from school. Like, she pulled me out of fights. I was her little big brother. Like, that was my girl.
Mm-hmm. And, like, what are some good memories that you have, from you two and being so close?
She dressed me from kindergarten to 7th or 8th grade. Every day, set an outfit out. Like I was her own personal baby doll. But without her, I would have no style at all. Some people might still say I don't, but I think I did pretty good because of her.
Yeah. And then into adulthood, because I'm sure, you were also very involved in Jalen's life too.
Yeah, and he likes to get dressed too, which is nice. I mean, they're best friends. He would get dressed and show his mom, so she'd be proud of the outfit he picked out. I mean, he had purple sneakers on and a purple hoodie on yesterday, and I would not wear purple at 11 years old, so he knew what he was doing.
He's got style.
So it's no surprise she was so loved at her elementary school.
The kids, a year ago, they did like a little program for her, and the kids called her room home. Like, it was a safe place for them. She would stay after school all the time, be late coming home all the time, just to stay with kids. Kids who weren't in her class anymore. They graduated, they were there in her class 3-4 years ago. Would just come back just to be in Mrs. King's room.
What do you think it was about her that students were so drawn to?
Oh, she was as real as it gets. My sister had a bachelor's degree, a master's education, was getting her principal's certificate, but was still very much so, like, we're from West Philly. And she was from West Philly, so she was loud, she was bright, she was real. There wasn't a wall between the teacher and the student. There was a relationship. Like, she made it, hey, you're learning so you can be better off. And it wasn't just you're learning to get a grade.
What was your reaction to hearing from the DA, Kevin Steele, about what they believe happened to your sister?
I couldn't believe it, honestly. It's one of those weird scenarios you thought about, but just there was a disbelief in that somebody would go this far, like, for a failed relationship. It's like, get over it.
Did you know any of this was going on between these people?
No.
Did not even a hint of it?
No. Rachel dated a friend of mine, and we went to college together. So I knew him, and when they first started dating, I told him, you hurt my sister, it's going to be an issue.
Right.
And I think that's why she didn't tell me about this.
Oh.
Prior.
Because you would have done something about it. Tell us more about Rachel. What was she like?
Just a bright spot. Just, if I had a bad day, I'd call her. She didn't need to know why I had a bad day. I just call her, talk on the phone, and she would just talk, because that's what she did. She talked a lot and loud. And it could be 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 15 minutes. It just was a better day after talking to her. And I sat there on Monday, and I realized that I didn't have her to call.
Oh.
I was having a bad day.
Yeah. And you'll never have her to call again.
Yeah.
People keep saying she's a good teacher.
Oh, amazing teacher. So I'm one of 5. We are very blessed to be intelligent. Our older sister never got a B, skipped a grade, never got a B. Rachel was very smart, but worked the hardest out of all of us.
Interesting.
Which made her a great teacher, because she had to learn everything differently than we did. We might have picked things up. She actually studied, did homework, and all those fun things. So she just was a great teacher and had a great way of explaining things, and had patience. And the patience part is the thing that, for me, for Jalen, it's hard.
And you bring up Jalen, her son, 11-year-old. How has he been handling all this, and how is he doing?
As we expected, I guess, something like this. I hadn't really talked about it much. We have him in therapy, seeing a trauma counselor, a child psychiatrist, but everyone in our family's world has been rocked. So it's, Jalen included, obviously he was there, but it's just, there is no normal. There is nothing to hold on to.
By the way, if you haven't been following this story, the reason why he's going to need therapy, was he in the back seat of the car or the front seat? Or
he was in the back seat.
He's back seat of the car when his mother was shot through the driver's side window, point blank. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was there.
Yeah, he made calls from the car. That's how we found out, because Jalen called.
He's the one who called.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And just hearing the details, the murder for hire and the planning and the fact that they followed her for a few days, like, how does that make you feel to hear that this was planned, and the fact that both of the suspects were there, even though she hired this person?
It makes me feel like I truly, sincerely hope that our governor signs off on the death penalty. They had multiple opportunities to turn around, to not do this. They knew exactly that my nephew was in that car. They made a very clear choice.
That's monstrous. That's evil stuff.
I don't know how anyone does that. And I don't know if the young lady's a mother or not, but she's a daughter. I'm sure she has family members.
Right.
And you just don't take a mother away from their child, like over a relationship, over a guy. There's a million men in this city.
Yeah.
I would like to send my love and condolences to Rachel King's 11-year-old son, her mother and her father, and her brother, and her school community, who are still all grieving the loss of such a beautiful woman.